Hello, this is Anna Amelia from North East Animal Rights, doing another one of our Saturday Spotlight interviews with high-profile animal rights activists and vegans. Today, we are delighted to welcome along Wendy Turner-Webster, who is a well-known TV presenter and also an animal rights campaigner. So welcome to you, Wendy, and thank you for doing this.
Hello, Anna, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Absolutely delighted to be talking to you today.
Good, my pleasure.
Thank you very much. We'll go straight into the questions then. So we are just about towards the end of January now. So obviously it makes sense to talk about your own vegan journey. Can you tell us about it, how it started, how easy it was for you, and what was it that made you want to be more active? Now, I know Karen told me that you're an old school vegan, so your kind of experiences would be different to other people's.
Oh, I'm hardcore, yeah. I've been vegan for nearly 30 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, almost 30 years. So, yeah, back in the day when even being vegetarian was a bit, oh, roll your eyeballs, you know, when you went to a restaurant. But I became vegetarian when I was 12. And just a little story on that journey is that I was having Sunday lunch, you know, at home, and we were eating lamb chops. And at the same time, I think it was something like that awful show, Country File, was on the television. And, you know, lambs were playing in the field. And just at that moment, the penny dropped. There's what I was looking at on the screen and saying, oh, how lovely, was actually in my mouth. And I specifically remember I couldn't swallow what was in my mouth and kind of, you know, spat it out. And never touched meat again. And my mum and dad kind of quickly followed to be vegetarian as well. And they felt better, you know, physically within weeks of turning vegetarian. And I became vegan, actually. Again, it's that joining the dots thing. With really somebody bringing to you the horrors of the dairy industry. And in that regard, it was PETA, you know, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Oh, you've seen my dog come back. And I was reading a leaflet of theirs, which, you know, explained that, you know, the life of a dairy cow and the natural lifespan is about 20 years. And when they're dairy farmed, it's what, 3 or 4 at best, I guess. And again, I just went, right, that's that, and became vegan, chucked out anything that was leather or wool or silk. I had a car at the time, a sports car, which had leather seats, and I got them changed for fabric seats and all that kind of stuff, you know. Never looked back, really.
Yeah. So it's interesting to hear that you actually influenced your parents to go vegetarian. So they weren't obviously vegetarian first, but you, as a 12-year-old child, you're influencing other adults, which is really, really interesting.
Well, I'll tell you how it happened, really. I think, you know, we'd always been, and still are, as a family, you know, with my mum and dad, our home was just always so pet friendly, and we seemed to amass a huge amount of waifs and strays and bizarre things. We had a parrot, like a big, you know, macaw parrot that came into the garden and we rescued. A canary, like 2 budgies, a tortoise, like 3 guinea pigs. And these things just wandered into our garden. And the final thing that wandered into our garden was a pony. And we kept this pony for about 15 years, you know. And anyway, what I'm saying is we were a family of animal lovers, but not joining the dots. And I think when I became vegetarian, it was my mum actually who then very quickly said, well, I'm going to be vegetarian as well. So, and dad, who kind of worked 6 days a week, you know, at the time, and couldn't cook a thing, he was like forced to be vegetarian because mum would just not then have any meat in the house at all. And but he very quickly then did it willingly, and you know, to this day. So, you know, that, I mean, God, that's decades ago now. Who was that?
I think it was
my eldest son, Jack. vegetarian.
Well, bring him on. Bring him on to say hello. So what would you tell yourself? Is it, you know, if you were a new vegan, right, then what would you, and knowing what you know now, what would you would tell yourself as a new vegan then, sort of like, so all those years ago, about, you know, kind of like keep it up, how you sort of your approach to it, and you know, where you can get things from, and also the criticisms and the, you know, you get. So how would you, what advice would you give to someone doing it as a new vegan?
Well, hang on in there, because, you know, if you're you know, new to it now, oh well, what would I tell myself? I'd tell myself back then that if you can only hang on like 25 years, then, oh no, nearly 30 years, yeah, if you can hang on for that long, it's going to be really great, because there'll be vegan stuff everywhere. And actually, you know, back in the day, as I'm sure you remember, you know, you couldn't really, even the word vegan, you know, I mean, I remember pitching some stuff years ago to, you know, say for television and stuff. No one wanted to know the word vegan. I mean, at best, it had to be animal free.
Yeah.
People really hadn't caught on to saying plant-based.
Yeah.
You know, so I would tell myself to yeah, it does get significantly better. The choice, you know, now is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the word vegan will no longer be
swear word,
frowned upon. Yes, swear word, or something crazy, you know. Yeah. Oh, and also, I think for those of us who have been vegan for before the vegan boom, it's good to know that all the things that we believed in, all those things like the impact on the environment, all those things that we knew, we can now feel very smug about. Yeah. Because we knew all this stuff, you know.
It's very true.
I'm not sure if that's quite answered your question, but you know.
No, it has. It's interesting because there's a few things I'm kind of like, you know, picking up on what you're saying about the fact that obviously we are kind of, I mean, you know, I haven't been vegan anywhere near as long as you have, but I mean, this is my 14th year. But I remember 14 years ago, well, 14 years ago it was really, really difficult. And I was very conscious of saying the word vegan and being seen as being extreme. And now I'm kind of like, I'll say it as many times as I can, because it's about trying to normalize it. And if you normalize it, if you hear it often enough, people accept it much more readily, and they're more likely to ask questions. But also things like at the COP26 recently, we had a big event up here. We were the only animal rights group within that march, and I was absolutely horrified. You know, so I contacted afterwards and said, "You're missing a massive trick here. Why are you not looking at animal agriculture?" And I feel as if with this particular subject, we're banging on a closed door, because it's all about fossil fuels, you know. But then you look at Channel 4, you know, a couple of days ago, they did this article on the 3 and 4, which Viva did, 3 and 4 emerging diseases, which are coming from animals, the zoonotics. So I'm looking back thinking, well, we did this 2 years ago at the start of the pandemic. We were telling people, and people were saying, you're talking rubbish, it's all fake science. And actually now, 2 years down the line, they're saying you were right. So
I know, and I don't understand why it's so hard for people to grasp that if you mess with animals and the whole ecosystem and their lives and what they eat and etc, and what chemicals you're pumping into them and to make them grow faster or this, that, and the other. Why are humans so arrogant to think that that won't come back and bite them on the arse? You know?
I think I would say that they aren't, they do grasp it, they just don't want to make any change. It's very much like when we tell people, when we do the slaughterhouse vigils and we are standing outside and we see these animals going in, and you tell people what it's like to be there, and that these animals, there's no such thing as humane slaughter, for example. You know, it's very much hands over the ears, hands over your eyes. They don't want to hear and they don't want to see it. As long as they sort of like in blissful ignorance, and that's what it's about, really. So it's kind of constantly pushing.
Yes, exactly. And I always think, you know, impact the packaging industry has, because of course by the time that piece of meat, that bacon has got to the supermarket shelves, it doesn't look, it gives no emotion, it doesn't look anything like the animal that suffered in the first place. And so it's much easier, isn't it, for people to do that and that. But when they go into the supermarket to buy it. The butchers is a different thing. I don't know how you would get any pleasure from going into a butcher's.
It's, I mean, you say the word butchers and I can smell the flesh straight away. It's kind of like it comes straight to you, doesn't it? We did a post. We did a vigil yesterday, and we got a photograph of a bin with the loads of sheep's skin in it. Obviously they had killed the animals, they had stripped them, and you could see the heads and the eyes of these animals lying there dead. And we've put a post on, which is going to go up tomorrow actually, saying this is what happens when people talk about humane slaughter. These are the animals. This looks like a bin full of rubbish, but if you actually zoom in the photograph, you can see these dead animals. You can see the eyes, the faces, the terror on them. And it is trying to make people kind of like, join up the dots, as you mentioned earlier a few times. It's joining up the dots.
And I think sometimes the easiest way to point it out, if people are prepared to take it in, is if you see the eyes of a farm animal, then look into the eyes of your pet. Your cat or your dog or your rabbit, same eyes.
Exactly. I
mean, I just think as children, you're brainwashed into some animals are to eat and some animals are to pet, and it's as simple as that. And children go with that, and that's when the damage is done right at the start. Because if you think about it as an adult, what's the difference between the two? There isn't any.
There isn't. And when you talk about children as well, one of the things we do is we work with Animal Aid and we do the school speaker program. So I'm going into a school tomorrow to talk to primary school children, and that's been really rewarding, because you talk to children who are so like open-minded, wide-eyed, innocent, and their natural instinct is to care about animals and love animals, and kind of getting them at that age. I mean, obviously the ones I'm talking to tomorrow are sort of 7 and 8 year old. So I will mention the word vegan to them, and tell them what I look after animals, I care for animals because I don't eat them, and kind of like leaving that there to hopefully sink in. But it's really, really good to be able to get into schools to do that, because talking to children is key. It's really, really key, because they're the vegans of the future.
Oh, that's brilliant. Did you say that's Animal Aid?
Animal Aid, yeah.
Oh, right. I'm a patron of Animal Aid.
Yes, I know you are, I know.
Yeah. Very proud of that.
No, they're absolutely brilliant. I work with we do stuff with Animal Aid and Viva, because they are very similar sort of educational approach, which is what we do with our group.
I'm a patron of Viva as well.
I know you. So actually, this leads us on to the next question, which is you're patron of several charities. So how do you decide which ones you can work with? Because I know you must get loads and loads of requests. So what So do you want to talk about the ones you are patrons of?
Yes. I'll just give a little shout out. I'm patron of Animal Aid and Viva, as we said. I'm patron of the Vegetarian Society and the Vegan Society, and I'm patron of a charity called Pause to Rescue, which is where our dog came from, which you've just seen her. I'm a patron of Animal Lifeline, which is a rescue centre in Stoke-on-Trent, and the actress Jenny Seagrove has a horse sanctuary called Main Chance, and I'm patron of that. And gosh, if there might be a couple of others. If I think of them, I'll say. But I've got to say, I meant to just say generally at the start, if I seem to be a bit stupid at any point, it's the long COVID, because it really has messed with my brain. So if I ramble or can't finish
you're absolutely fine. No, absolutely fine. Now, we talk quite a lot in the animal rights movement about mental health and sort of our own well-being and how we look after each other, because we do see, I mean, you know in your undercover work, the stuff you've done in exposes, how traumatic those experiences are, and how you can, you can bring them back to your head and your mind and how you feel in a flash. So I know that you're the patron of Silence of Suicide after your own struggles. So
yes. Yeah. Sorry, I should have mentioned them, but they're the only human charity.
Human, yeah.
Oh, sorry, the other one is the Humane Research Trust.
Oh, right, yeah. No,
yes,
good.
that was the very first charity that I became patron of. So.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So they are so anti-vivisection, yeah. So,
but no, sorry, I think I put you off kilter. Sorry. The Silence of Suicide.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us about that, and how how that came about, and how it helps you and you help others?
Yeah, sure. Well, it kind of came about that I became involved with them because it was founded by famous barrister Michael Mansfield QC and his wife Yvette Greenway Mansfield. And Michael is also a patron of Viva. So we were sitting together at a fundraiser and found out more about their charity. And of course it started because Michael lost his daughter a few years ago to suicide. And Yvette lost a very good friend to suicide. So they set up this charity, asked Gary and I if we'd become patrons of it. And I think for the last 3 years we have. But, now mental health is definitely more in the headlines, and it's definitely, gone up there in terms of having the profile. I think it's still a huge postcode lottery as if you get any help or not. I mean, 2 years ago, in the first lockdown, I did one of those self-referrals that you can do. Again, I'm not sure if every kind of borough has them, but I'm in the borough of Hounslow, and that was just excellent. And I was really struggling with a very, very long-term depression, existential depression. Why are we here? Something that I'd had for decades. And just being able to reach out and talk to somebody, has had a huge impact on me. And so really, Silence of Suicide is it has phone lines open. It has a huge amount of resources on the website. They're always there, to contact, email, get involved with. So I'm really, really proud to be a part of that, actually, because I know how important mental health is. It can destroy you. Yeah.
I think probably in the animal rights movement, there's probably a higher incidence of mental health issues because of the nature, partly because of the nature of what we do, but also because I think those who are more likely to have mental health issues are more caring, compassionate, they see and feel things more. I mean, I've had 2 breakdowns, and I have needed. It's about having the good support. The support gets you through the process, and I know that I can't ever say that I won't have another breakdown, but I know now that I will recover. If it happens, I know I will recover. I'll see it sooner, and I'll put steps in place, but also I'll recover sooner as well. But it is really important to talk about it, because I think probably women are more likely to talk about things. But with men are much more closed. It's kind of like a macho thing. They don't talk about the mental health, and it is starting to be a thing where they can, but we still need a big focus on mental health, I think.
Yeah, I think, particularly with, by the way, I'm really sorry for what you've gone through, because, if anyone has suffered from depression or breakdown, I mean, huge empathy with you, because I know how difficult it is and what it takes to actually bounce back from that, which is a huge thing. But I think with men, there's still this idea that, a man is strong, and a man has to take care of the family, and a man has to provide, and it isn't, there's a sign of weakness to show your feelings, which really it's crazy, because it's exactly the opposite, really. I always feel it's more a sign of strength to be able to talk about what you're feeling. as I say, having said that, I didn't talk about it for like 40 years. So, so there you go. Don't take after me. No, really reach out, reach out if you need to, is the message.
Yeah.
But sorry, you're right. It is in terms of the, you were saying about the impact of what one sees in the, animal rights, animal welfare world and having an impact. And I was doing some undercover work with Viva. No, not last year, the year before, the first year of the pandemic. Was it? Crikey, the last 2 years.
I think it was a 2019, probably, I think, because 2020 was the start of the pandemic, wasn't it?
Yes, but I think there was that, wasn't there that point in the summer where it all kind of faded off a bit, and you could go. Anyway, we went to this most horrific pig farm, not Hogwood, and another one, and there's still legalities in that, and it's ongoing. But that was just, I mean, it was a horror show. There were 6,000 pigs there. It was just disgusting to anybody's eye. And, it had the red tractor stamp of approval, this, that, and the other. So, and that did have quite an impact on me, mainly because I hadn't yet started the counselling I was having for the depression. So I was still in a bit of a state. And that really was the icing on the cake going there at that time, because I was fine when I was there, but when I got home, I just, I think I was really angry with myself that I couldn't save them, or I should have picked up a piglet and put it under my coat or something. I don't know. It was just, and you never get those images out of your mind. I can deal with them, but they're always there. You can't erase them.
It's you're right. I mean, we've had some awful situations at the vigils, and I mean the outreach which we do as our group is less of it's more of it's human confrontation, and that's more easy to deal with. But the actual seeing the animals suffer and everything, you feel so helpless because you want to try and save them and you can't. And even you save one and you can't save all the others, so it's kind of having to make a choice, but it is so difficult, and you can, literally anything can sort of just bring it back to you, like a smell. You walk past a butcher shop or you walk past a food shop and you can smell things, and, or sound. I mean, even yesterday, the bird sound, the bird song outside of a slaughterhouse is just surreal, because the birds are going, singing absolutely amazing, beautiful songs. And all that, you can hear the cows in a lot of distress, a few feet away, and it's it's a real, as I say, it's horrific. And as the kind of saying goes, if slaughterhouses had glass walls, everyone would be vegetarian or vegan. I think, having said that, of course, not everybody would, because you've got the people who work there and abuse animals as well. Not all of them deliberately abuse the animals, they simply work there, but a lot of abuse goes on inside the slaughterhouses too. And they're fine with it, and those are the people who I think they're a danger to society, because they will come out of that slaughterhouse, they go home. What do? Pet their dog, pet their cat, be nice to their children. That to me is a psychopathic. I know there was a really good report on the BBC actually, maybe about a year ago, about the mental health in slaughterhouse workers, and they were saying that the mental health in slaughterhouse workers, the turnaround of the staff is horrendous, because the pay is ridiculous. Nobody wants to do the job. But we see the human aspect as well, because where we stand, the slaughterhouse workers go right past us, and we always have a good relationship with them, because we see them as a victim as well. I mean, there's one particular guy, just before Christmas actually, came out, and he said, I absolutely hate working in there. It's awful. It traumatizes him. He goes home and he's just like, he's just like a gibbering wreck at home, you know. He does it because he needs a job. If he works at that job, he doesn't get benefits. So, you know, it's just an awful situation to be in. But I do agree. I mean, you have to, I mean, there's a lot of people there who've been there a long time, and they are just completely desensitized to it completely, and are very problematic, because in society, do you want that sort of person walking around who could literally, you know?
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, obviously, the people you've met and they've found themselves in a terrible trap, and obviously dreadful situation with you walk out, you lose your benefits, which is just outrageous. You know, yeah, you're going to have those people. I think personally, but the majority of them, as you say, desensitized is the very word. But do you want somebody who's that desensitized, walking around being desensitized? It's not good, is it?
Yeah, and it's a bit like what you and I do. I mean, you're doing undercover stuff. It's you have to feel traumatized, and you have to feel saddened and angry, because if you aren't, something is wrong, you know. You have to, but obviously that has an impact on you as a person as well, doesn't it? So you have to know how to look after yourself and get the support you need to kind of come down from those sorts of things.
Yes, exactly. And I think, you know, obviously people say to me, oh, I couldn't do that. I don't know how people do it, you know, obviously go undercover and what have you, and see what we see. But the overriding thing, obviously for you as well, is to expose it and to try and put a stop to it. And so kind of however bad it is, I can brace myself against that, but kind of the greater good of it, and kind of that's what you want to hold on to, really. That's what I hold on to.
So, I mean, you mentioned right at the start that you've obviously seen quite a lot of progress particularly in the food part of veganism, but we've still got massive cruelties going on, you know, carried out on, you know, the MBR beagles, the charade that is, you know, trail hunting, and red tractor were mentioned as well. I mean, red tractor is a particular bee in my bonnet, because we know that all of these farms are red tractor approved, and naturally they're horrendous. So what do you think?
What is that about? I mean, I think they're giving red tractor a big backhander or something.
Yeah, there must be something. There must be some sort of reciprocal. I don't know what it is, advertising or sort of whatever it is, but it's obviously it's not working. It's not right. So what do you think we should be focusing our efforts on this year, this brand new year in 2022?
Oh gosh, I think really it's a difficult one, because it's so wide-ranging.
Yeah.
But I must say, with things like the you know, trail hunting and red tractor, but I think, you know, something like the trail hunting, and the beagles, they're these ones that seem to, they can drag on for years and years, and they're never quite deemed important enough. But for, you know, government level, say, to actually get involved and make changes. And so there's a whole range of animal issues which are just constantly there, just being awful. So it would be really great if some of those could actually be brought to book, you know. Like the hunting is just, it's just appalling. And but it's the farce of it all. You know, and a lot of these things, and the powers that be just never seem to do anything about it. So it's really difficult to say one thing, because there are so many. And I think, you know, as well, I mean, vivisection is a huge horror show of mine, you know, personally. Let's say the Humane Research Trust was the first charity who asked me to be patron, and I just feel so strongly about vivisection and testing on animals for anything in any shape or form. And again, the trouble is, it's one of those which is so awful that people just want to bury their heads in the sand. And the worst thing is as well, of course, when you're bombarded on the television with these charities that they're like a juggernaut of, and they've got huge reserve funds, and they're just putting it out there. Give to cancer research.
Cancer research,
you know, give to all these charities that British Heart Foundation, you know, that fund animal testing. And these people are beaming into our living rooms constantly, or on the phone or the tablet or whatever. And it's really, and the emotion that they bring to it, it's really difficult to counteract those monsters, you know.
I mean, you know, when we do vivisection, it is quite an emotive subject, because you'll have people who walk past and say, I wouldn't be alive if it hadn't been for this animal testing. But, you know, my counter argument to that is these are massive organisations. The chief execs are on hundreds of thousands of pounds salary. You're fundraising, you're doing a sponsored run for that sort of organisation, and they still haven't found, you know, they have found, what's the word? I've lost my brain's just gone a little fog now. But they,
like
contagious.
It probably is.
But they still haven't, you know, they have cured it. That's what I was looking for. They have cured certain cancers.
Even help you
in animals, but obviously it doesn't translate into humans because it's so different. And it's like the fundamental things, like the fundamental physical differences, you know, but then the similarities are the suffering. And you know, when these adverts come on TV, you know, I'm usually shouting at the screen, tell the truth.
Me too, yeah, absolutely. I hate it. And you know, I never go into their charity shops or anything like that, you know. I mean, I've been asked over the years to be patron of a couple of 2 or 3 charities who are very, you know, worthy and what have you, or you say they are, and then I do a bit of investigation, and they do fund animal testing. So, you know, I always say no. And someone said to me once, "Oh, but it's only a few mice." And I was like, "Well,
oh, that's okay."
So it's there's lots of things that are very annoying in the animal welfare world, aren't there?
Yeah. So what's next for you then? You talked before we came on air about Viva. So what are you doing up?
Yes, I'm working with Viva at the moment. We are doing some filming and production work with the aim of putting out a 3-part TV show on Together TV later this year, which goes on to My5 as well. And yeah, that's really exciting because we've done some filming up at the salmon farms, and we've got filming scheduled for this year. And Juliet, you know, who runs it, is a really, you know, old friend of mine. So it's going to be really great to put that together and actually put it on that platform. You know, is just going to be, you can't really say it's work. You know, it's really satisfying to do that. And just also the other thing I'll mention, if I may, is that I bought the domain name years ago, wendyturnerwebster.com, like years ago, and just never did anything with it. And the first kind of lockdown and everything, I thought, you know, I should really use the time to develop this website. So after all this time, I think it will probably go live in I don't know, say 3 weeks or something. So I'll link you in and what have you. There's lots of animal stuff on there, obviously.
Yeah, brilliant. You mentioned Juliet. I mean, Juliet was actually the second person that I interviewed when I started doing these. And I was absolutely gibber and wreck before I taught, because she's such a big role model for me. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to flip this. And Peter Regan was actually the first one. So I did Peter and then I did Juliet. Yes. So yeah.
Yes, lovely Peter. I call him Peter Vegan.
Yeah, he is. He's so lovely. I know we all love Peter. I mean, he was a big support for us when we did a local campaign we had camels in a Christmas parade, and he was really supportive, and we stayed in touch, and he's been absolutely brilliant. But Yeah, there's some one of the things I've done through, you know, I've kind of like been really good, happy about with these interviews is the connections we've made, and sort of I feel as if I learned something from everyone I've spoken to. You know, it's been really, really good. So
yeah,
anyway,
there's some good people out there.
Yeah, there are. I think there are more good people than bad, but we just have to keep on pushing keep on pushing what we're doing.
Yeah,
But it's been.
yeah.
It's been absolutely amazing talking to you. So I know we've been trying to get you for absolutely ages, and it was really, really worthwhile talking to you. So thank you very much for giving up your time. We really, really do appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure, Anna. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, you as well. So I'm going to sign off now. So this is Anna Malia from Northeast Animal Rights saying thank you very much to Wendy Turner Webster, and saying enjoy the interview, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye bye for now.